There we go. Alright, it's funny, now I've got a camo shirt on this long sleeve. I'm actually a little cold because I just got done gutting out that deer. So, let's go over a cool story time here. So today is October 20th, Thursday morning, and I woke up and it was a little late deciding to go outside, and wasn't 100% sure I wanted to go, because every morning I go out and try to go for a walk just to kind of stay healthy and keep my back going strong after doing the chores. And it was drizzly, overcast. I think it was about 41 degrees outside today, and it was a light drizzle coming down for us. So I grabbed my Pennsylvania flintlock. For some reason that was just calling to me, and it was just like last night I was dreaming, and you could just tell and thinking about it and thinking flintlock and something, for whatever reason, that's what it was. So I grabbed it, loaded it up. What's really neat on that Pennsylvania, and I reference it here in the following video, that the patch box, which is that cool eagle inlay, which was part of the reason I spent the $890, whatever it was, on Cabela's version of that Pennsylvania rifle, was because they have that exclusive inlay. If you look at the Pedersoli website, they don't have it with the inlay. So that actually is a patch box. So I put a couple of 15,000 patches in there, one .490 ball, and took my pouch, took my horn, and you'll see I threw, or I went out with just a generic green cap, and threw on that Carhartt flannel shirt jack over just like a polar fleece, Polar Tech kind of tighter fitting, whatever that is, Polar Tech, and a t-shirt, and pair of Dickies duck, Carhartt type pant, and those LL Bean boots. Loaded up with 60 grains of 2F GoX, and hit the road. Intention was to take a chair and bring it to the far pop-up on the, going out look to my left side of the property, because I had no chair in there, and Saturday opens up rifle season, and I still wanted to, I was probably going to hunt with that 54, and today I was just like, you know what, flintlock. For some reason it's calling flintlock, and I've been out every day since this past weekend when it opened up in the morning for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, just kind of gently walking, stalking through the woods. I've jumped a few deer, without seeing them, even though I've done my best to see them. And then one I jumped the other day, I got out, came up, and I was probably 30 yards away from it before it finally realized that I was just getting into a position to start scanning. And instead of listening to myself, which was sit and observe, I wanted to kind of go around this tree section, and I wouldn't have seen the deer had I not moved, but when I moved, the deer noticed me and then took off. So I did a long, probably an hour and a half creep through the woods, kind of going up. And interestingly, even though I saw where it ran, they do this kind of one way or the other turn. It had turned and gone down by my far pop-up on the right-hand side of the property, and I got real close, and I was like, I know he's down here somewhere. I know it's down here somewhere, and sure enough, about 30 yards again in some pine thicket was, again, I had been scanning that with my binoculars and did not see it because it was well hidden behind and just laying down, so it spooked and went. So today, that was the same intention. I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go creep around, see what's going on, check my game cameras along the way in anticipation of shooting something today. As I always do, I start to hunt, and I assume I'm going to get something. And then I was carrying this chair along a ridge line past the gun range, and I kind of got up to one area, and I forgot my binoculars. That's one of the things too, is like, oh man, scanning an area, and I just scanned right over this deer. And so I then went in what would take 5 minutes of brisk walking to this section, or 10 minutes of a easy walk. It took me about an hour and a half to get through the woods up to this pop-up, and then I checked my camera, and then proceeded to go to where I know those deer kind of cut through and either just stay there stationary in this well-protected area, or just kind of move along into the swampy section off my property, and kind of goes in my property and then into another area. And so, I had a few of those were super quiet. Those LO beam boots, I just cannot speak enough about, and they suck as waterproof. Your experience might be better, but it's just creeping through, and they're just so quiet in the woods, and you have to walk slow with them, but you can feel so much. Mine are not insulated, so my feet were getting a little bit cold, but overall, generally, I was really good. I had one leather glove on my left hand. My right hand I had taken off in anticipation, as I always anticipate there's going to be deer. There's always a deer around the corner, and usually there's not, or they are way off or whatever. But so my hand was getting a little cold, but that way I could get my finger in that trigger guard. I can with the glove, but being that hair trigger, I can't really feel that because that trigger guard is so tight that I don't want to risk putting it off. So anyway, so I kind of creep up a hill, come up, get through some pines. I'm standing pine to pine to make sure all of my movement is hidden. I've got the wind in my face, and I kind of creep in, and I just go, and I was about to give up because I had to go to work, and I was like, all right, I'm going to kind of creep through here, and when I give up, I don't mean I'm like bounce out and run away. I stealthily go back and leave, and that's when I saw the outline of the deer, and I was like, all right, here we go. I was probably 80 yards out when I saw it. I took the shot. It's hard to say. 70 yards would probably be the farthest I think it would be. I tried with my laser. I mean, there's too much dense brushing, you'll see in the video here. So I squatted down, actually leaned back and sat on my right leg, kind of under your butt, and I actually extended my leg out, and I was leaning against a stump on the ground, and unsupported, kind of sitting, and set that rear trigger, and I just took my time, and again I said follow through, focus, front sight, put it on, and I had it right on that shoulder, and then you'll see where we're at on there. The good news is we got it. So with that, I'm going to stop right here, and then we'll kind of play out the video, and then I'll do a recap at the end.
Yeah, I'll be in tomorrow. Okay, shrub crafters, we are going on a little adventure today, and take note of exactly what I'm wearing, because with the exception of the boots, this is exactly what I was wearing today during this. This is a Carhartt shirt jack, a polar fleece, a t-shirt, pants, this hat. Did not have my rangefinder, but that's part of what we're going to go find out. So my homemade bag, my horn, we're off on a flintlock adventure. We're on our deer recovery vehicle. So if you haven't figured out what this is yet, this is a successful deer video. Off like a herd of hurdles. Or a herd of turtles? Like that. Anyway, this is the deer recovery vehicle. So we're going to the back side of my acreage, and we had a successful day. We'll see if you guys can hear this. I don't know. We'll try to give it a shot because we got a little drive. We got a little ways to go here. So this morning, Thursday, October 20th maybe, got a late start, went out about 10 o'clock. I decided I was going to go check some of my game cameras and bring my flintlocks, since we're Saturday brings our season to an end of flintlock and bow only. And the wind was coming in, and it's actually coming in still from right to left today. Kind of see the leaves going that way. So I decided I was going to come out and slowly creep around, and I used the wind to my advantage as best I could, and I went down and checked my one game camera, and the wind was blowing this, again, right to left. So I came back to my center trail, and then went up past the gun range, and then I was actually taking a chair. I was creeping as slow as I could to go to the edge of the property line on the other side, all the way down, and then back in to my pop-up for this weekend for Saturday opening gun. And like I said in one of my other videos, the hunt starts the minute you go outside. So I used the chair as kind of the thing. Like, I had to move this chair, and I kept it in the seated position open. So I used that chair as kind of like my speed, and then extra slow. And sure enough, as soon as I got on the top of my ridge line, I ended up, and I knew there was something out there. I just couldn't see it at all. But the wind was now in my face, blowing the other direction. So I kind of jumped a deer. It didn't see me, but it knew something was up, so it took off. So at that point, I doubled down on my speed of how slow I went. And I took what could be, if you were to do a brisk pace, a 5-minute walk, average walk 10 minutes, took me an hour and a half. Came up, got to my pop-up, set the chair in, took a quick little 5-minute sit down, checking everything, checked my camera over there, and then resumed my hunt. And I realized I was running out of time to get back home to work, and I still had to milk our goats. So I crept into this pine area where I knew this deer had probably gone, and using wind to my advantage, crept in, and then I just stopped. And then I waited, and I waited longer than I wanted to. Again, that's that key, is wait an extra minute, extra 5 minutes, whatever. So I waited, and that's when I saw it. And it took me a while of scanning through. About 75, 80 yards out, through pretty dense brush, but I had a nice solid body, and thought it was the buck I was after, but it turns out it's a doe. And here's one of the things about heavy brush here in the Northeast. I'm using my 50 cal Pennsylvania flintlock, so this is my very first successfully harvested flintlock deer. Shooting 490 hand cast ball by me with a 15 thousandths ox yoke patch. It was actually lubed with that Hoppy's black powder lube and solvent, but it was bone dry. And so I put that in this morning with 60 grains of 2F. And we're coming up now to the range here. Still got probably another 5 minutes to go by tractor even, so we're about a 10-minute drive into where we're going. I hiked out to get the camera and everything because I didn't have it with me. I'll kind of set you up where we're at, and we'll go from there. But needless to say, training, preseason training works really well. I have 0 scent control on, and I'm wearing, like I was telling you, this is in one of my other videos, this is probably the outfit I've shot deer. This is no camouflage, hands exposed, only using wind to my advantage, and my clothes were in the house, so they smell like cats and dogs, as well as my wife, whatever she cooked last night for dinner when she was by herself there. And so it just goes to show you that it's a steep hill here, dropping my bucket. It just goes to show you that if you know your environment, interact in your environment, and work the winds and work the terrain to your advantage, you can be very successful. I had my doubts today of whether or not I was going to jump this deer again, or even see it, but knowing my land and knowing where I was going, I had an idea of roughly where I was going. So I want to stop talking here because there's a couple of things I got to go through, and that tree is actually not attached. That fell off, so I got to try to work my way through there, and then go up into this forest over here. But I'll take you through here. But flintlock 50, success. and we'll go over the shot and everything after the fact. But let me get up here on this deer. Okay, shrub crafters. So right here, I have that pop-up over there. Those are actually really cool. They're tree line sold by Tractor Supply Company and Vail Camo. They actually do an amazing job. Over here, I've got a game camera right on that tree. So I left there and I crept my way right over here, right up this way, because that's down where I actually jumped her coming in on the far side of there. And I came right up this pathway, much quieter than what I'm doing now, just because of the sheer volume of sticks. And this is where those LL Bean boots are just amazing. So I came up here, and this is where deer tend to go into because of all this pine. So I came over here and then worked my way silently into here. And then I used these pines to my advantage. I actually stayed right in here, silently pushed my way through those. I looked up here, and what's cool is this opening, you can see, goes down, and I spooked her from down in here. So I stayed into these trees. Again, here's me and camo. This is it. This is what I was wearing, minus this cloth. You can see how well I blend in. I had one glove on, which is a Browning leather. These are actually really nice gloves, 100% leather. Part number RN73765. Fall of 19. That's when they were going on closeout from Gander Outdoors, whatever. So pushing my way through here. And used these bushes to my advantage. I got here and then I crossed. And now this opening was one that I was a little worried about, because straight over there is wide open. I came up to here and I was working my way into these bushes. And from here, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to see that deer's location. I brought a rangefinder, so I was here. And the deer's back in there. And now let me see. Yeah, I can't even get ranges out of here. It's so thick. So anyway, this deer was in through here, and there's thick stuff. I sat here and I watched this deer, and trying to find a stump. Everything's kind of out of whack for me right now. There's a stump. Oh yeah, here we go. So yeah, this is a little off my mark. This is how easy it is to get sidetracked. Alright, so I came here. Actually came in from this side. And then I came in with a stump. And I was able to kind of see in. And this is thick stuff. So we're just going to take a roundabout way in now. Let me see if I can paste this off. Try to do a good paste off area for you, because it isn't, I can't even get a laser through there. this is 80 paces by roundabout. So it's about, you can see how dense this is. My shot, here's the deer's body where she was. My shot was through here from a thicket. Now I had a clear line of sight through these branches, and as you can see, that's just a massive blood trail. Now, before we go much further, I want to say something that irks me, bothers me about this situation. Now, I was very, very tuned in, focused. I actually was doing a reverse, kind of sitting on my rear right leg, leaning against the leg against the stump, and I was sighted. I really pulled in and I focused on those sights. You can see it's just dense, and there were a couple of branches here as I was coming through this opening to where she was, and I was a little hesitant to pull the trigger. And then I thought I saw the rack, and I'm thinking there must have been a second one, but either way, I mean, I've got tags for them also. I'm 90% certain, and this is, and I'm going to show you everything as I do this, because this is a learning experience for me and everybody else as we go. This is my first flintlock harvested deer. I have shot one before. Coyotes got it. I'll tell you that story at another time. I'm 99% sure because I had my blade and rear blade on that front shoulder, and I anchored her right here, and then went this far. Now this isn't a little, I will try to set it up. And that is my successfully harvested flintlock deer. And we'll continue our story on. This one, I anchored her because she was not with babies and she does not have any milk left in those udders right there, which is awesome. This is the type of deer I'm looking for on my property, is one that's not producing children, or a buck with an oblong rack. So here we go. One thing that I do for all deer that we harvest is I have a little bag of sage and tobacco and water, and we give all of our deer a final drink of water and sprinkle some sage and tobacco and thanking the animal for its life. And that is something we do across the board with every single animal we harvest here, whether it's our farm animal or not. So I will do that, and then we'll kind of flip her over, and I'll get a little more stuff for you, but I'm going to give her some of this right now. This is the second shot when she was laying here. I crept up, and from about 20 yards away I shot her, and I actually had a misfire. It didn't even spark. So I wiped the frizzen down and did it again because she was still alive, obviously, because of the way. And once I open her up, I'll let you know where this bullet and ball went, and we'll go from there. But this is her, and I am super appreciative of her life. And I'm going to call it for myself on this land hunting. I'm done for the season. That's 3, and that's plenty for me. Gotta get my tags here. Put them in my back pocket. There you go. Now I'm gonna use a doe tag for a landowner here. But that's it for me. I will go after bucks now only, but it will not be on my property. It'll be on a friend of my property. I'll let the bucks and the does here have a safe haven. Excuse me. I'm sorry. But you can see that's that 60 grains. 2F. Go X. Again, powder horn that I made. My wife made the strap. Old bag. No cast ball. And I'm going to find this one right here. I'm going to tag this now. And then there's the tractor off the trail driving up through the center of the property. The one thing I will say, and we'll do a post hunt analysis here. I am 90% certain my ball deflected into her because I had a perfect shoulder shot on her. And I'm going to guess, based on where I'm at, I'm about a 65 yard, 75 yard shot distance from kind of over there over to here where she hit. I would say 60 to 65 is probably realistic. 70 would be, probably the top end of it, maybe a little more. But I was squatting, I was stable, and I had that gun. I'm comfortable with this gun. You guys have seen me shoot it 100 yards at the old property. And I do believe my ball got deflected off of some of these limbs. There's no other way that ball would end up so far back. I can flinch, but I don't flinch that hard. But I am thankful that I anchored her here, and then I did the mad dash to reload. What's cool? So those of you like me, this is the Pennsylvania. In the back here, this little patch is just big enough to throw a couple of those Ox Creek ox yoke patches with a 1490 ball in there. I had that in there. So as soon as I pulled that trigger and I saw her, she dropped. Which is why I immediately thought it was a perfect shoulder shot, right behind that magic triangle. And but I immediately went to town reloading, and I opened that up. I got the powder going, and throw in, and I wear, as you know, I use my funnel marked 60 from an antler tip down the barrel, and then just ram everything home. And then I kind of crept up nice and slow because I want to respect these animals and not put fear in them as they're dying. And was able to get in, 20 yards broadside and put that shot on her. And then she kind of laid over, and then I walked up with her and I actually held her head. She was still alive, obviously. And I just held her and rubbed her as she passed. It's just something that I do, and I feel a connection with the land and these animals for that reason. And needless to say, I just called out a vacation day for work because by the time I get her back in, even with the awesome deer utility vehicle there, by the time I get her back gutted and hung up, I'm already going to be late for work. So I called out and took a vacation day. So I'm going to get her tagged up. We'll get her back to the house. And it is cold enough today. I'm probably going to leave her hanging. I will gut her, but we'll leave her hanging. And then we'll kind of reconvene, and I'll get this through the awesome Hollywood magic. We will kind of go through my 2 successful muzzleloader hunts this year, and I hope you guys find them valuable. Now, unless my wife wants to get one, I am going to, we're going to call it quits. That puts 3 deer in our freezer, 2 big does like this, and 1 button buck. and then that still leaves me 2 tags, one for buck, which opens up this weekend here north, and then the Saturday before Thanksgiving next month opens up the south, and that's where my buddy's property is, and we would probably go there for that. So, yeah, so this is my first successful harvest. Cabela's exclusive Pennsylvania long rifle. Again, this is the Cabela's exclusive only because of that inlay. They do make this Pedersoli. The balance on this is phenomenal, and I couldn't ask for a better harvest today. And I'll tell you the story a little more when I get back in the house and everything's processed. So, all right, thanks. Here she is, hanging. Perfect, clean meat. Cavity for the bullet. And it turns out the other one was perfect. It was a double. I mean, I crippled her right through this top spine, so there's 0 meat damage there, which was a blessing.
Okay, now that you have seen all of that, I can tell you this. The shot surprised me. When I touched off that round, I was dead on that shoulder. There were some branches, actually, and I said to myself, and I've passed on deer many a time because there's branches in the way, and I was like, nope, I can see my blade right through, and I know it's going where I need to, and I know that gun, and I know it's accurate, and I know it's there. So I touched it off, and that deer, it dropped. Anchored it to its spot. And, as you saw, I immediately opened up that spare ball and, spare ball and patch. Knocked it right out of that patch, went into my hand, threw 60 grains of powder back down, rammed everything home, put a little spit on it, and I got to taste some of that dried hoppies. Once I got that all set, put the priming in, I forgot to wipe down the frizzen, and then I could still see where that deer was down, and it was kind of twitching a little bit, moving, so I crept in, and I probably covered the first 30 yards, really quiet, kind of working, and I could see the deer moving, and I was trying to get up. I was like, all right, and it kept doing that sideways flop, trying to get back on its legs. I wasn't going anywhere, but I was afraid if I push it, I might. So I stealthily crept. I still had the wind in there, and I was very, very quiet. And the deer just kept trying to get up. And then it kind of dragged itself around the tree, as you saw. And then I could see it there, and I had a perfect shot on that shoulder, opposite side shoulder. And I hadn't seen where I had hit it yet at this point. And so I lined up and touched off the round at about 20 yards. Into it. It was at a comfortable level. I put it, and it went right exactly where I was aiming. But what was interesting is that I actually had no spark when it went off because I forgot to wipe that down. And so when I pulled that trigger, it went click, nothing. And I was like, son of a bitch. And quickly wiped it off, checked that I had powder in there, closed the frizzen again, pulled the trigger, and boom, it went straight off. And then I was able to run up to the deer, still alive. Deer do take a little bit to expire. Even a perfect shot, I was a double one. So I went up, and then I just sat with the deer. I knelt next to it and put my hand on it. And whether you guys are spiritual or not, one of the things that I do is, especially if I'm with an animal when it's dying, I ask them that when it is my turn to go, either those deer come and guide me to the happy hunting grounds or wherever we go. And likewise, I do always ask the deer that if we meet in another life, whether or not we do or don't, that if I am their prey and that animal becomes the hunter, I ask that they provide a quick and humane and respectful death for me as well. And that is something that I believe in, and I hope that the animals and all the lives I've taken, I hope they appreciate that. And I hope that if we are on a flipped position in another universe, or multiverse, or whatever the heck it is, that the deer, coyotes, fox, everything that I've killed over the years, I hope that if they're in a flipped thing, that they do humane kill for me. As you saw, one of the things that I do is I always try to provide tobacco, sage, to the animal. Native Americans, a respect thing. I usually try to point the animal towards my home where it's going, north from where I hunt. And I always give them a final drink of water. You know, and things I've picked up over the years of different cultures that do that, and I think it's just a respect thing for the animal. But to be with an animal that is passing, and to be able to sit there and hold it, and I did pet this deer as it was going, and I asked it for, you know, for forgiveness for taking its life, and I thanked it for giving me its meat. And I do believe that these animals do provide themselves for us. Either that, or we're just, you know, or nothing, you know, works. But I prefer to believe that that's what happens. So anyway, lessons from that for me. I mean, it was phenomenal stalk to there. Super quiet. I used the wind to my advantage. I was not wearing any camo, none. I did not have a face covering on. I had one hand exposed. I had the brass on the gun as I'm stalking through the woods, and I used the wind to my advantage and my knowledge of terrain from preseason scouting from, you know, the last couple of years, and my best guesstimate of where it would be if it was there. And an interesting thing is that on the game camera, the deer, I believe it was this deer, you know, it's hard to say, but about 9 a.m. that deer had come out, and I had passed about 10 o'clock, 10:15 when I jumped it. So it's probably the same deer. I ran in, and then an hour and a half later, we reconnected, and I put that shot on. So when I did touch that off, though, I was 100% confident I was on that shoulder, and as you can see, that shot went way back, high quarter. So as I just gutted her and looked into her, she's hanging now with the skin on, you know, and I got some pictures there, but it hit, and it's lodged in her spine, so she dropped. So total deflection of that shot off of one of those branches. And I'm just very thankful that it lodged where it did. So I would call that a terrible shot. You know, and could I ever do that again and hit that branch and go there? Probably not. Had it missed the branch, and it was a little, when I say branch, it's probably big as my thumb, you know, forefinger, right in the way, and I could see because I was looking at that. And I thought it was a nice high shoulder double lung hit that dropped her right there. Because she dropped just like that happens with any other rifle. And so, you know, so it was an absolutely terrible shot due to the reflection or deflection, but it was an excellent shot because where it lodged, and there's actually no meat damage on those quarters, and it's lodged in that spine. So I'm going to try to recover that bullet tomorrow or later tonight when I actually finish skinning her out. She's hanging right now to get through rigor, and just cold enough out there today that you know, I don't mind her hanging. So 60 grains of 2F did the trick. You know, I'm not happy with that shot, but that's why, as I've said in many of my videos, I limit my distance to, you know, I've said it a lot of times, 50 to 75 yards. That was, the comfort zone was there. I had perfect sight alignment. I could see solid shoulder. I could actually see the outline of the shoulder. Everything was in excellent field of view, so I felt very, very confident in that shot, and as I was pulling that trigger, I was like, just follow through, and I had great follow through. I know I didn't fall off that shot at all, because as it touched off, I was right back on where that shoulder was, and so yeah, in that gun I shoot very well, with that 40-inch barrel. I think it is 41-inch barrel. I shoot that very, very well, and so definitely had a deflected shot on there. So I am one of the mindset that I want either a perfect shot or a perfect miss. I would much rather miss an animal perfectly than wound an animal and have to sit there and try to track it. And worst case, gut shot an animal that you know, suffers, and then you push it and then you lose it. So there's a lot of things. So all in all, excellent. I've got meat. The nice thing is that ball is lodged high, so I don't have that giant spoiled, bloody, pulpy mess of you know, of just trauma. So that is excellent. I couldn't ask for a better one. And where it hit in the spine is actually below the back straps, and the tenderloins are perfect. So absolutely great harvest. I'm very, very proud of it. And for my first recovered flintlock deer ever, I did shoot one deer a couple years back with that gun up on our old property, and it was a solid hit. I saw her and I watched her kind of, she hunched, did it. She was 96 yards out, did the jump and went, and I had good blood. And because of a prior experience, I said, you know what, I'm going to backtrack and I'm going to leave it. So I went back. I took a 2-mile hike back to my cabin. By the time I got back there, I sat down, ate lunch. I waited 3 or 4 hours. It was still daytime. Shot her in the early morning. I went back about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and all I found was fur from where the coyotes tore into her, and it was dragged off, and it was just a mess. And so coyotes got that one, and in the old area there were coyotes everywhere. I mean, packs of them. We could hear them every night, and we were true wilderness up there. I mean, woods. Lots and lots and lots of acreage. I mean, there was a road nearby, but it's terrible. So, yeah, that's so this is the first flintlock recovered deer. Only second one I've ever shot with a flintlock. My other gun that I shot, in the one video, the Frontier, that I've converted to flintlock, shot a deer, 2 deer with that one, and those were percussion at the time. And then I've shot the other ones with percussion. So this is awesome. So I'm very, very happy that it went the way it did, and that I anchored her right there, and I was able to follow up and just take care of it. Hope you enjoy the videos, and thanks for watching. And I hope you guys out there and gals are having a great, successful hunting season as well. Just remember, stick with it, and again, it's not about the best of the best gear. It's not about what you wear. It's not about what you smell like or not. I mean, it does help. But it's about being smart, using the wind to your advantage, and just understanding your terrain and getting time out in the woods. It was excellent. So, and now, after all that's done, I called out, took a vacation day today. I'm exhausted, even though I got a good night's sleep last night. It's just you're out in the wind and the weather, and then the adrenaline, and then getting it. So, really, really just a wonderful, wonderful hunt. And my season is over, with the exception of potentially a separate piece of property later, but even then, if I don't get anything, I'd love my wife to get them. I don't need anything else because I'm set now, and it's just been a fortunate, another great, successful year. So apparently I'm doing something right in the universe. Thanks for watching.